Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm John Barbin. With me is Jeff Dover, and let's talk football.
That's right. We're average football fans. We watch football on Saturday and Sunday. That's why it's called Saturday versus Sunday podcast. And we're doing our review of the Clemson Georgia Tech game. What are your initial thoughts?
There's a new bully in the ACC.
Oh man, it's great when Georgia Tech's good. There was a couple times when Paul Johnson was there, and they've 10 wins and stuff, and they're doing the triple option. But it's great when they're good. So because otherwise the ACC can sometimes be like a 2-horse race, or it's just sort of Clemson and who else and that kind of a thing. But like when Georgia Tech's good or Florida State, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, and if Florida State can follow up on their performance against Alabama, that might be the new two horses, maybe with Miami up there too. But that's already 2 losses for Clemson. I think they might already be on the outside looking in for the playoffs. I mean, I guess they can still make the ACC championship game though.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. So here's my notes on the game. Klubnik, when Garrett Riley was hired, it felt like a home run hire to fix the offense, and to me it hasn't worked. Klubnik has not looked good. The offense has never looked that good. The defense has always been pretty solid, but it's just that they haven't been able to move the ball that well. And so and it's amazing, and I don't really know what the reason is, but I just know that this offense hasn't looked good for some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. I think Klubnik is that 5-star recruit, highly touted. Clemson was on a bit of a run there. It started with Taj Boyd. He was good.
Yep.
Then it went to Deshaun Watson. He wins the national championship, right? And then it goes to Trevor Lawrence, wins the championship in his rookie season, and was 29-2 or whatever, the ridiculous record. The consensus overall #1 pick. The talk about since Andrew Luck, there was not nobody was as obvious a #1 pick as Lawrence. And then it was DJ's like, oh, didn't quite work.
Well, DJU in his first game, I don't know if you remember this, but he played Notre Dame and lit them up. And so it's like, oh, they're not even going to take a step back with this. And then every other game after that wasn't as good. So that was the first time, like to your point, it's like, oh, they didn't hit on this one.
Right. And then Klubnik. And again, these are all 5-stars, right?
Yep.
Or I don't know if Watson was, but like Lawrence,
yes,
DJ and Klubnik are all 5-stars. They're all, top 2 or 3 in their class.
And the thing that's disappointing is that he's looked like this ever since the first year he was there. Like he hasn't improved. And that's the part that's really disappointing, because he has the physical tools. Like he's big, strong arm. He's a senior now. And he's not playing like it.
Nope. And I think he just, from a quarterback standpoint, I think he got outplayed by Haynes King.
Yes.
And Haynes King, I still don't understand how this guy's not injured every game.
I know.
He's just a battering ram. The broadcast, I guess they said, Dabo said this is essentially Tim Tebow, the way he plays it. And I think that's kind of right when you watch the way he plays. I think he's a better throwing motion, but he's not as massive as Tebow to absorb as much punishment, but somehow he does. He absorbs it all. I mean, he went 25 carries.
That's amazing.
103 yards with a TD, and then he went 19 for 27, 216 through the air. That's pretty efficient. Like that is, I mean,
it's
that's
great.
Outstanding.
27 pass attempts and 25 carries is all of the offense pretty much, like there was 12, like a little around 15 carries from other people, but that was about it. Like so anyway, he's great. The Klubnik hasn't looked good. I thought for the one good thing about Clemson, I think #8, their running back, he looks pretty good. Like they didn't ever really got the running game going, but like he looked fine. Like he was playing well. I wasn't really familiar with him. He's a senior and he's been on Clemson the whole time. So that's another
converted wide receiver.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's rare, because he's had, like, I was looking at his stats and they're like, oh, here's his 22 rushing stats in 2023 rushing stats, like at Clemson, like he's been there the whole time. So at this day and age, the portal and stuff, that's pretty impressive that he's there, but he looked good. But and the turnovers are key. Like when Clemson used to be a team with a dynamic offense and defense that you could manage if you had a turnover or 2 or something like that. But that's exactly what Georgia Tech wants to do, right? That run the ball, don't turn it over, play solid defense, try to keep everyone in front of you. That's the only time it got squirrely, when the Clemson had that long pass, like for the 73 yards, right? But it was Clemson. Clemson was the better team today.
They were the better.
Georgia Tech was the better team.
Georgia Tech was the better team. They won the turnover battle. They never put the ball in harm's way. And both turnovers were Klubnik. He threw that. First of all, he got smoked on a run.
Yes,
and just was not protecting the ball. And he runs a lot. And he isn't okay. So Klubnik's a pretty good runner.
Yeah,
he's not Haynes King.
No,
but he's very effective. He's definitely dual threat. You have to pay attention to him on all plays. But you can't carry the ball like that.
No. And I think that he's a capable runner. You're right about that. But do you think going into this game they wanted him to rush 17 times? There's
Absolutely not.
There's no way that's part of the game plan. I think it's the offense isn't moving, and so then they're just trying that. It feels like so. It's that they're running it out of necessity, not because it's effective.
Right, and that's kind of the best way. I mean, they outgained Georgia Tech. I think they kind of had to get back into this game, but the offense it is in fits and starts. They came out in the second half and they closed out the first half with a touchdown, right? That's I think that's how they ended the first half.
Yeah.
And so and then opening the third quarter, Georgia Tech inexplicably goes to the pass.
Yes.
For the first two drives, they abandon. I mean, I don't know if the play caller thinks, okay, so maybe Clemson did some adjustments on defense and gave him a look where the pass is the obviously favorable. You have numbers, but the run option game is so effective. It's Georgia Tech's bread and butter. It just shocks me that coordinators can lose sight of that somehow and just go by the numbers and they showed us whatever front, so that means we go to the pass. Now, obviously, the passing game was effective in this game, and maybe they need to somehow preserve Haynes King for the end of the game. I mean, only they know why they did that, but from a fan, it sure looks weird when you're running it effectively and everything's working off the run, and then you just go 3 straight passes and out, and then the next series you do it again.
Yeah, well, and that feels like an offensive coordinator out thinking himself. You know what I mean? I think in the start to second half, you feel like, no, they're really going to load up in the run, so let's take advantage of the pass. But it didn't really. Clemson never really adjusted well on defense. The defense was playing fine, but Georgia Tech was able to move the ball. And at the end, to get in the position to kick the field goal, they just stuck with what was working, which was running, right? So to your point that way. So
right, and so there's only so in the second half, Georgia Tech goes punt, fumble. That's what. Or sorry, in the third quarter, that's how they start the third quarter.
Yeah,
and then they hold the ball for a good chunk of the fourth quarter here, and they get back to what's working, and they do put a 90-yard drive together.
Yeah,
in the fourth quarter.
Right, and to your point about the punt fumble, that should have been the time where Clemson really turns the game around. And a better Clemson team would have been taking advantage of that, gone up 21 points at that point, or 14 unanswered kind of a thing, which never really happened.
Part of it's the interception, right?
Yeah,
they throw that brutal. I mean, Klubnik throws that brutal interception in the Reds. I mean, you can't do that. You just cannot. You cannot turn the ball over there, and it looks like they just got him there. Because I think the receiver he's looking at, that's not the defender that got it. It was the underneath defender, like a quarterback. A linebacker jumped up, picked it off.
Yes.
And he looks shocked. Actually, as it was happening live, my eyes went to the end zone, and I go, "Where's the ball?" It was so abrupt where it actually got picked off.
Yeah.
So again, this is just another example of Haynes King was the better quarterback. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. Klubnik had the 2 critical turnovers, and Georgia Tech, good for them for weathering that storm in the third quarter where the offense just sort of went cold. And then that 90-yard drive had to be a backbreaker to go up by a touchdown here. Yeah.
No, and that was a good point about Clemson. So that was because Dabo's known for the middle 8, right? The last 4 minutes, the first 4 minutes, and at the end of the second quarter, Georgia Tech had them. It was 3rd and 22, and they said, this is really going to break it." And then they just did a draw play and went for the first down, and then Clemson started moving, and I'm like, okay, here's where Clemson's going to be Clemson. They're going to score at the end, score at the beginning, and then they're going to put this game out of way, like how it's 12th ranked team going into the game should, you know, and they didn't. They were, they came out in the third quarter, and it wasn't the same. So anyway, it was interesting that even if it could have looked like a traditional Clemson game, but it didn't. Georgia Tech was just better.
Well, they did win the middle eight, and they were up 14-13, but they couldn't sustain that momentum because it looked like they took the entire game away from Georgia Tech there, because they scored going into into the halftime.
Right.
They got then they got a touchdown. Now the interception's kind of in the way of that, but then they came right back and got a touchdown. So they kind of did win the middle eight, but then Georgia Tech just weathered that storm, and it was the 90-yard touchdown drive that probably at least looked like to me gave them the confidence that okay, we're back to front running in this game, and Clemson's still in catch up mode. Now, to Clemson's credit, they go on a 75-yard drive and get a touchdown, and that was a pretty efficient. That drive looked like there was no stopping them. Like, yes. Georgia Tech really didn't put up any resistance on that drive at all. It was just, here we go, straight down the field, and we might be going to overtime here.
No, and it's those are all good points. My final takeaway is that I just don't know if you're a Clemson fan. I don't know how excited you are with Klubnik moving forward. He threw for the 207 yards, but 73 of them were on that one long play. You know what I mean? So it was it's like less than under 140 yards for the rest of it, which is, and because the wide receiver, that play shouldn't have gone that far. Like, the wide receiver, it was a shorter, tight pass, and the wide receiver really took it. So, do you know what I mean? But so I just, it's really, if you're a Clemson fan, I don't know how, I'm interested to see how low they dropped, because they were down against Troy, came back against them, so
maybe they're just not that good.
I know. So
it's the nonsense of the preseason rankings that don't mean anything, and they're parked at some number. They lose to LSU, now they lose here, and in both cases the offense looks pretty bad. Like, they did well. They got 3 touchdowns here, but for stretches of this game, that offense looked pretty bad. So it's not that, to me, they're not it in the ACC. To me, the ACC is, we'll see what Miami looks like later. But right now, again, we'll also see if FSU can keep it up. But to me, that's the 3 teams are Miami, FSU, and Georgia Tech now.
Yeah. And it's and Clemson's got some winnable games coming up. Like, they host Syracuse, they're at UNC, they're at Boston College, but they still have FSU and at South Carolina, and then at Louisville one. So that's 2 or 3 more losses. Like, that's an 8-4 team, or 7-5 worst case. So,
and in their heyday, like in their multiple championship run where they're in the playoffs constantly against Alabama, they would always win games in the fourth quarter. I don't know if you remember that run.
Oh, yeah.
But whenever the game was close, it was like, oh, Clemson's going to win this game. And it's going to be, they're just going to, what Georgia Tech did to them here, Clemson used to do to people all the time.
That's a really good point.
It's that whole winning is a skill. And at one point, whether or not you were a Clemson fan, if you were watching them during that run with Deshaun Watson and then Trevor Lawrence, if it's close in the fourth quarter, you're not beating them. It's just, you're not beating them. That's just what they would do to teams. Georgia Tech is starting to look like that to me.
Yes. Yep.
Like, the winning is a skill. That fire drill at the end.
Oh, it's so great. That looks like a well-coached team, Like, they don't turn the ball over defensively. They were in the right place. And then to be able to complete that, like, that was fantastic.
Yeah. So a Georgia Tech fan has to be pretty happy right now with they're 3-0. They already have, I guess, the win over Clemson's big, and it also, for any championship game, conference championship game implications, you already have the tiebreak now over Clemson. And who would you right now pick over Georgia Tech out of all of the ACC teams in a winner take all game?
Yeah, maybe Miami, maybe FSU, but that's like, but they're right there in it. Like, it's not, they wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a maybe, a coin flip.
Yeah, coin flip.
Yeah.
So, and Georgia Tech coming up, they got Temple at Wake, so 2 very winnable games. They could be 5-0 at that point. They host Virginia Tech at Duke. Like, it's a pretty, they only play, as of now in their schedule, they only play one ranked team left, and that's Georgia, which is not a conference game. So.
And I bet you the Georgia fans aren't looking forward to this because this
No.
team looks every bit as good as last year. And last year, Santiago, you have to admit it, Georgia should have lost that game. Well, Jesus, new bully in town. It's Georgia Tech, and this was our dark horse. This was our dark horse for the ACC, and it's. I mean, after 3 weeks, I don't know if you call them a dark horse after this type of performance and the way they're playing. And the other thing is they've shown different ways to win. Now, Colorado, weaker team for sure, but they put themselves behind the 8 ball with the turnovers and still came back and won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Here, they were kind of front running this game most of the game. Yes, Clemson got the lead for a bit there, but it did feel like Georgia Tech was kind of in control of this game for most of the game. And there was never a moment where it really felt like they were in catch-up mode. Like they were down by a point, but it never got to a point. It never got to a point where they're chasing like this season so far.
It never looked like that. Right. It never looked like they were panicked. They stuck with a game plan. The running was working. The defense was, for the most part, like a bend but not break type situation. And it was if you're a Georgia Tech fan, like this went exactly the game plan. Like this is what a good Georgia Tech win looks like.
Yep. I mean, I think that's all I got for this. It's go rambling wreck it's rambling all right.
It was a great game.
Great game.
I love what the fire drill field goal is just such a great way to end it. That's
his career long, I think.
Yes,
by about 3 or 4 yards.
It is. It's 52 and was the longest, and that was a 55. Yeah, to win it.
Awesome. All right. Well, good for Georgia Tech. They are perched atop of the ACC now. Mm-hmm. All right. So for Jeff Dover, I'm John Barber, and that's your Saturday versus Sunday podcast.